Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alda Imroatul Istifaiyah, and today I would like to explain about export and import terms and also its sentence examples. I hope for everyone that watching this can use these terms correctly, and also hope that you all guys understand about these terms. So okay, let's get started. Here is the classification of terms into export terms and import terms. I've listed 9 terms into export terms. The first one is appendix CIETS. This term belongs to export terms as it refers to a list of regulated species, ensuring their sustainable trade. It governs the export of endangered species and their products. This appendix CIETS is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. Then the second one is P3 waste. Although it can be relevant to both export and imports, it is categorized as an export terms because it primarily pertains to the classification and proper disposal of hazardous waste generated during the export process. This P3 waste is a term used to classify hazardous waste in certain countries. It typically refers to waste materials that are flammable, corrosive, toxic, or reactive. The third one, we have frostwritten. This term belongs to export terms as it denotes the unprocessed form of rattan that is commonly exported for use in furniture and handicraft. It is commonly used in the production of furniture, baskets, and handicraft. And the next one, we have harmonized system code. It is belong to export terms because it is a classification system used by exporters to assign the appropriate code to goods being exported, facilitating customs clearance and trade documentation. It also provides a standardized method of classifying products based on hierarchical structure of codes. Then the 5, we have UN or artifact. This term is categorized as an export term as it represents international standards for electronic data interchange between business, streamlining export-related communication and documentation. It provides a common format and structure for exchanging information related to trade, including documents such as purchase orders, invoice, and shipping instructions. Then 6th one, we have mixed goods. It can belong to both export and import terms. However, in this context, it is categorized as an export term because it refers to goods that are exported and consist of multiple components or materials with different characteristics. These goods may require special considerations in terms of labeling, handling, or customs procedures due to the diverse nature of their contents. And then number 7, we have compositional goods. Similar to mixed goods, it can be relevant to both export and import terms. In this case, it is categorized as an export terms as it specifically refers to goods being exported and that have specific regulations or standard related to their composition. These compositional goods are products that are made up of various ingredients or components. These goods often require specific regulations or standards related to their composition, such as food products with specific ingredients, requirements, or chemical mixtures with precise formulations. And then number 8, we have provisions. It belongs to export terms as it refers to specific rules, requirements, or conditions stated in export-related regulations or agreements. In the context of exporting and importing goods, a provision refers to a specific rule, requirement, or condition stated in a regulation, agreement, or document. The definition of provisions. These provisions often outline obligations, restrictions, or procedures that need to be followed in relation to the import of or export of goods. And then the last, we have section notes. This term belongs to export terms as they provide additional information and guidelines within a tariff schedule to interpret and classify exported goods accurately. And then we move to import terms. The first one, we have foodstuff. This term is categorized as an import term as it refers to substance used as food or drink primarily imported for consumption. These foodstuff are any substances that are used as food or drink for humans or animals, and this term encompasses a wide range of edible products, including raw and processed foods. And then the second one, we have psychotropics. It belongs to import terms as it refers to substances that affect the mind and behavior when consumed. And these psychotropics are substances that include drugs or medication that have an impact on the central nervous systems and can alter mood, cognition, or consciousness. Then third one, we have presidential decree. This term is an import term as it represents an official order or directive issued by the head of state, often imposing regulations or tariff on imported goods. A presidential decree is an official order or directive issued by the president or head of state of a country. It carries the force of law and is typically used to implement policies or regulations on various matters, including trade and commerce. And then for one, we have BTKI, or stands for Buku Tarif Kepabianan Indonesia, which translates to Indonesian Customs Tariff Book. This is categorized as an import term as it stands for the Indonesian Customs Tariff Book, which is primarily used for determining the applicable tariff rates on imported goods in Indonesia. And the fifth one, we have unfinished state. This term is an import term as it refers to goods that arrive in an unfinished state, requiring further processing or assembly upon importation. These goods may require additional work or manufacturing before they can be considered final products. And then the last, we have chapter notes. This belongs to import terms as they provide explanatory information and guidelines within a tariff schedule or to interpret and classify imported goods accurately. This provides further guidance to customs officials, importers, exporters, and other parties involved in international trade to ensure accurate classification of goods for customs purpose. And we move to the last section, which is the sentence examples of the terms. The first one is Appendix CIETS. And then the example is the shipment of ivory products is strictly regulated under Appendix CIETS to ensure the protection of endangered species. And the next one, we have P3 waste. The proper disposal and handling of P3 waste are essential to comply with environmental regulations during the importation process. And the next, we have foodstuff. The customs officer inspected the packaging labels to verify compliance with the foodstuffs import regulations. Psychotropics. The import of psychotropics requires special permits and documentation due to their controlled nature. The next we have fresh rotten. The furniture manufacturer imported fresh rotten to be used in the production of their handcrafted pieces. Then the next we have harmonized system code. Importers must accurately classify their goods using the harmonized system code to determine the applicable customs, duties, and taxes. And the next we have UN or artifact. The company implemented UN or artifact standards to streamline their electronic data interchange processes for international trade. Mixed goods. The shipment contain mixed goods with different classifications requiring separate customs declaration for each component. And the next is compositional goods. Compositional goods, such as dietary supplements, must meet specific ingredient requirements and labeling standards before they can be imported. Presidential decree. The government issued a presidential decree implementing new trade policies to boost exports and attract foreign investment. PTKI. Importers referred to the PTKI to determine the applicable tariff rates for the goods they were importing into Indonesia. Then the next unfinished state. The unfinished state of the products allowed for customization and final assembly to meet the specific requirements of customers. And the next is provision. The import agreement included a provision requiring the exporter to provide certificates of origin for the goods. And then the next one is section notes. The importer reviewed the section notes of the tariff schedule to understand the specific regulations and exemptions applicable to the goods they were importing. And then the last is chapter notes. The chapter notes provided important guidelines and explanations for the classification of goods within a particular chapter of the tariff schedule. Thank you for your attention. I think that's all from me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.